Daily God's Promise Day 1 Isaiah chapter 43 verse 4. Since you were precious in my sight, you have been honored, and I have loved you. Therefore I will give men for you, and people for your life. Since you were precious in my sight. This verse reveals the tender heart of God toward his people, showing how highly he values them. The word, precious, in Hebrew carries the idea of being esteemed, valued, and dearly loved. God is not speaking abstractly. He is speaking directly to Israel, his covenant people, whom he chose and redeemed. This moment in Isaiah was written during the Babylonian exile, when Israel needed assurance that they were not forgotten. Even in their disobedience and suffering, God's love remained steadfast. You have been honored. God does not just see his people as valuable, he bestows honor upon them. To be honored by God is to be set apart, to be lifted up, and to be treated with divine dignity. This is not based on merit but on his covenant and compassion. And I have loved you. This is one of the clearest declarations of God's personal, passionate love in the Old Testament. The love here is not fleeting or conditional, it is eternal and faithful. God's love is not just spoken, it is demonstrated through action. Therefore I will give men for you. This phrase points to the divine exchange God was willing to make to rescue and protect his people. Historically, God allowed other nations to fall so that Israel could rise again. This speaks of the great lengths God will go to in order to preserve his beloved and people for your life. This verse echoes God's sacrificial heart. He prioritizes the salvation and survival of his people above nations. It foreshadows the ultimate exchange where Jesus, one man, would be given for all lives. In Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 6, God says Israel is a chosen people, treasured above all nations. In Exodus chapter 19 verse 5, God declares that his people are his special possession among all the earth. In Psalm chapter 72 verse 14, it says, "He will redeem their life from oppression and violence, and precious shall be their blood in his sight." In Romans chapter 5 verse 8, God demonstrates his love by Christ dying for us while we were still sinners. In Ephesians chapter 2 verse 4-5, God, rich in mercy, loved us even when we were dead in sin and made us alive with Christ. In John chapter 3 verse 16, the greatest demonstration of God's love is seen in giving his Son for the world. This verse teaches us that God's view of us is far greater than our view of ourselves. We may feel forgotten or unworthy, but God calls us precious, honored, and loved. We often seek human validation, but God has already declared our worth. In a world that measures value by performance, status, or wealth, God measures by love and identity in him. Today's church must embrace this promise to overcome shame, insecurity, and spiritual apathy. The modern generation is desperate to know their value, not for what they do, but for who they are in God. We must teach identity before activity, relationship before responsibility. This verse reminds us to value others as God does, with honor and sacrificial love. It calls us to see the broken, the outcast, and the forgotten as precious in his sight. Because God gave people for us, we must be willing to give ourselves for others. God bless you and give you grace after grace.